went even beyond some technicalities, and you touched upon the sometimes personal, sometimes, you know, our collective values that we have in this assembly, and the spirit which we'd like to keep. So we are people who are going to different regions and trying to promote peace there, trying to promote, you know, reconciliatory ideas, the more cooperation, but we have to set example. I think, and what Roberto said, it's reality, and I'm, as a president, very much appreciate and satisfied with the spirit we have. And I'd like to say one thing, it's very easy to work with the Secretariat, not because of they are competent or they are professionals, but we have this certain level of trust. And in politics, you should be very vigilant. Of course, we know that, but we have no conspiracies, no hidden agendas. Everything is transparent here. We're talking with you very sincerely where we see our, let's say, the weaknesses, where our strengths, and how to move forward. And I very much appreciate that Secretariat is doing very well. I'm very frank, you know. You saw my report here. Maybe there's some of you could even smile, so why so many travel and how we can doing that. I'm also, it's not about me, but it's about the Secretariat, about staff. They should accompany, they should prepare many things, everything should be on place. And I could say that it would be very difficult to any leader, any president, any vice president, or any special representative to work without great help of our staff. It's a great asset, and we reiterated it many times that with a small budget to have this capacity, it's quite rare. And we'll try to also assist you, Roberto, and all the staff here, how we can, how we, with all our means, and also try to preserve for coming years that what was created here. Of course, we appreciate, I'm from my side, the history of the PA didn't start with my presidency. Of course, there have been people, my predecessors, who did a great job here also to create this very solid foundation, even for our normal human relations here, but also in the Secretariat and the staff. And I see, you know, the great enthusiasm here during our meetings, during our travel, during the negotiations, and what, just to, not to have this picture that we're sitting together and praising each other, but even this increased level of cooperation, which will give not only visibility for the Parliamentary Assembly, but the more, let's say, deliverables, more implementation of our work, which we want. We want it, we'd like it in our own parliaments. What we're doing, so we're shaping policies that government should implement it. So Roberto's personal role and the Secretariat's role is huge to keep and to maintain the very good relations with the institutions, with the other partners, and of course with our governmental branch. So I'm very much thankful from my side as a president, and also will try to keep that pace of our activities. But there's a one aim and one idea to, for the sake of this Assembly's authority, integrity, and effectiveness. Are there any questions to Roberto? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to join you in thanking our Secretariat, International Secretariat, particularly Secretary General, our friend Roberto Montella, for the tremendous job that has been done by the collective team for the last 2 or 3 months since Berlin session. It is really pretty much appreciated. And of course, I always witness the unity of the Secretariat, capability, professionality. I also want to thank the Secretariat for providing me with all necessary conditions to represent our assembly in Tashkent seminar organized by the UN Special Agency on Preventive Diplomacy for Central Asia. I appreciate the great contribution made by Farima Daftari. Of course, it should also be mentioned. And Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, we have good tradition of holding a Lancewire seminar initiated by our friend Doris Barnett. It is really becoming a traditional event and being institutionalized, and of course being a platform for discussing many challenging issues. I think this initiative should be continued. I appreciate the continuous support given by the Secretariat. And when I was in Tashkent, in Uzbekistan, we had the discussion with special representative of the Secretary General of United Nations, Madam Naila, about holding joint event together with OSCE. I think it sounds well. We have to look at our possibility, how much we are ready in terms of the financial support, or sending some of our experts or staff from Secretariat to hold some of the event in the region, which is very important for us. It should be on the focus of our agenda. And I think the United Nations has launched very important initiatives to provide space for parliamentary diplomacy, as well as enhance dialogue among the Central Asian countries. So I think it is pretty much interesting for us, if it is possible, Mr. Secretary General, to take into account in our further activities and the plan how we can do together with the United Nations Special Agency on Preventive Diplomacy. Thank you, Mr. President.
No other questions. Please, Roberto.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Guliev. Of course, we will we have already enhanced our cooperation with the UN. Yesterday, Mr. Voronkov was at the PC in Vienna discussing about the UN compact on the fight against terrorism, and congratulated the work of our Committee on Terrorism. We are trying to find venues of cooperation with all possible parliamentary assemblies and international organizations, and of course you've seen it within the OSCE family as well. As I've often said, it's not la coopération pour la coopération. Of course, we always want to cooperate, we want to be friends with each other, but the reason why we cooperate is because we find areas where working together makes our delivery on the ground more efficient. I give you an example on the parliamentary dimension of the Mediterranean. There is the Parliamentary Assembly on the Mediterranean, which is working only on that. I am in very close touch with Mr. Sergio Piazzi, their Secretary General, and with the Assembly. President Roque from Portugal has been in touch very often with our President. We try to fine-tune activities so that we don't just try to say, okay, well, the OSCPA is present in that region so that we are nicer than the PAM, but we try to coordinate activities in order to see how we can best deliver in one specific country. So sometimes avoiding overlaps, sometimes joining missions. So that's the type of cooperation I like, you know, because of course, if we want to say cooperation, check, yeah, we are cooperating, we are nice with each other, but it's really a cooperation based on what is it that we cooperate for. I've used this example very often with the ODIHR, you know, on elections. Of course we cooperate, and this is, if you go in Vienna, the mantra is, oh, we need to cooperate with the ODIHR. Of course we cooperate with the ODIHR. But the reason why we cooperate is because we deliver better statements which are useful for the country, the host country, where the statement is made. So the parliamentary dimension, together with the civil servants who are there for a longer time, the long-term observers and the short-term observers, unite together in order to provide a better product, a better statement, not because one is the boss and the other one is the humble servant of that boss. I mean, we have gone past beyond this type of challenges that we had before with the ODIHR. So we are always cooperating with international organizations, but we do so in a matter that is useful for the end result and useful for the end users of the OSCE product, which are the citizens of the OSCE region. I just forgot in my presentation to mention one very important aspect, which is the work on an electoral code. You remember in Berlin, I mentioned about this Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, a report on alleged corruption in election observation. And there in Berlin, I mentioned the fact that, thank God, our assembly has not been touched yet by these kind of allegations, but that we should not be just sitting and being self-aggrandizing about our virginity in this issue, but we should actually be proactive. And we are upgrading our activities. Ambassador Montella was tasked to prepare a stringent code of conduct, I would call it at this moment. I mean, we do have a code of conduct, but let's call it for the time being a code of conduct or a code on you know, like non-conflict of interest in election observation. You've heard today Mark Pritchard mentioning his recusal from the mission in Georgia. So we're going towards the elaboration of a more stringent code that will be presented first at the Bureau meeting in Milano, and if approved and with some additions that the Bureau will have, presented to the Standing Committee in Vienna in February 2019, whereby this body, the Standing Committee, the main decision body of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, will adopt a new stringent code which is in line with the practices of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly in order to avoid in the future even the minimum semblance, I would say, of a conflict of interest when we observe election observation in countries. If you allow, Mr. President, just one note on the budget, because yesterday in the debate there was a discussion about one major country withdrawing its funding to one important UN agency. That funding is 60 million euro per year of that important country. I've made a calculation with Gustavo and Marietta, our finance officer. 60 million euro, which is one country's contribution for 1 year of a UN agency, is the funding that the Parliamentary Assembly totally has received since its foundation. So just to give you the dimension of where we are in terms of being cost effective and hopefully effective in what we deliver. Thank you very much.